Yeah, so I'm gonna try to explain this inventory I've just created. First off, I'll look at the 2D scenes. It's pretty simple. There's not really much going on here. Just an inventory with whatever size right now. A little preview thing so that you can see the item and the amount that's being moved. And then just I created a control here called UI so that I could just put the inventory UI in here. And then this is an inventory slot. It doesn't have anything going for it. This just shows the item, and if it'll just, here's a slot background. That's just what the slot background would look like. And then the slot item is the actual item preview. Okay. Now this is my inventory. You can change the size in X and Y. It creates an array of arrays. Has the owner ID, which doesn't do anything yet. Inventory size that just uses these to make a vector 2i, which I think makes everything a little simpler if I'm making it correctly. But anyways, so that doesn't really matter. That's just for testing. I create the inventory with size X and size Y, set the inventory size in here, and then for every row, I make a new array, and for every column, I append a new slot item, which is of item type, which is nothing. Uh, so, yeah, it's just a bunch of empty item things, and I guess I'll look at the item. The item is just a resource. It just has the texture and info, and then how much of it and what's the max stack. So also that doesn't really do much aside from just say what type of class it's from, because I made different kinds of item classes. So this doesn't really do much, but it just shows me what was created and the type of item it is. Okay, so where is it? Inventory update. That's to do in the future. All right, so get the item from a slot. The slot is based on the size and such of the inventory. Uh, so this returns the item if there's an item. If everything that I did with these is I set the from slot to, or the vector to I to min for some of the other things so that I could just, if for example I get off of the inventory slot, it sets the new vector 2i to the minimum that it could be, because I just will probably never use that. So if get item is called and then it tries to get an item, it's going to return null, because this will cause an error if it's called on something that doesn't have an item, or part of the inventory that just doesn't exist, rather. And then set item, just it sets an item to a slot. It's pretty simple. There's not much to that one. Get texture and get amount. Those are just like utility ones. They're not really used for this. inventory class specifically, but they're more for like the menu and the inventory slots and the item preview. So that'll you'll be able to see that. Moving in an item, I set the amount to a large number. I'm never gonna have anything stack over at or even over this probably. So if the amount is less than or equal to 0, it doesn't shouldn't move an item. Same with if the from slot and to slot are the same. So, and then getting an item when moving, it just gets the item from the slot, gets the item amount, and if the amount is greater than the item amount, which it shouldn't ever be, but if it is, it just sets it to that. And then to slot item, this is just what is the item from the to slot. If there's an item, then, or if there's not an item, then it'll just move the item by just setting the item in the new area. Or if it's gonna be a partial amount, it just it creates a duplicate of the item to move, and then it just sets the new amount to whatever the new amount's gonna be. Okay, and then I made a little stacking thing just now. This one was a little harder to get down, but I just used the item name. So hopefully I don't make the same name for multiple things, but this also only does occur if, or I guess I should make it so that it can only occur if something can be stacked, which I guess I actually did. So never mind what I just said. But anyways, what this does is it gets the item name. If they're the same, then it sets the new amount to max stack if the new to amount is over max stack. Otherwise, it will just set the amount to the current amount minus the amount that will be it will be given. And then if it's less or equal to 0, then it will just set the item to nothing, because I made it so that you can just set the item and it sets it to null if nothing is given. So, and then it gets the item from the to slot, which should be just whatever the item that's there, and then it adds to the, or it gives the to amount to that slot item. And then if the amount is equal, it'll just swap. So a little temp here to save that value, and then just it swaps them. This is a utility function for add item. Add item will, if you want to add an item, it will just find an empty slot for if you don't give it a slot to add to. And I guess I should check a couple different things here, but right now it just checks if there's a to slot, then if the amount is greater than the item max stack, then it just sets it to the max stack and sets the puts it into the inventory and updates the inventory. And if there's not a to slot given, then it will just assume that it needs to find an empty slot. And if there is an empty slot, it will uh, try to add the item. But I need to make something in here so that I can, if there's an item on the ground or something, all this will do is just eat the item up and not actually drop it back down. So I need to make sure this can do that. But for now, this just works. And then drop item, it just removes. Okay, actually, I need to change that just to equal null. But I need to make it so that you can actually drop an item, because right now that doesn't really do anything aside from just remove it from the inventory. And this I haven't done yet exactly, but this is if there's multiple inventories, then I want to do this. All this is just kind of a testing thing. There's a lot of stuff in here. I can go into that if I wanted to, but it's just UI stuff. So the main thing is this inventory system. So here's the menu. I created just a clean bucket and a poop bucket. I didn't want to make it complicated. I wanted to make it simple. And down here you can see some of the stuff in the works. So you can see how many of the item that's under your cursor. So you can move it, it moves. And then if you click and drag and then scroll down and scroll up, that changes the amount. And look at that, it splits 3 and 2 when I drag 2 away. And look at that. So you can easily do all that stuff. Makes it nice. And yeah, that's currently my inventory system.